Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Kristen, one of the good doctors of Abbey Research. I'm an empathy educator who is obsessed with the idea that we can get along better than we currently do. And I use my company that I run with Dr. Aaron, the other good doctor, to hopefully facilitate some of those kind of conversations. And one of the ways that we do that is this series. It's called Welcome to My World. And I get the utter privilege to spend a little bit of time talking with somebody who is different than me, which is, everybody, about something they're good at, something they're passionate about, a way they see the world differently than me. And then we turn on the camera so you guys can eavesdrop and learn as well. And today I am beyond gleeful to be joined by my colleague, Keiya K. Rayne. She is an international and a TEDx speaker. I'm sure someday she will be an international TEDx speaker if she isn't already. A transformational healer, a success coach, and creator of the Success from the Soul coaching programs. She was featured in the documentary The Big Talk Over Dinner, Race and Immigration, and most recently spoke at the United Nations NGO Commissions on the Status of Women. So, she's like no big deal whatsoever. She's a recipient of the White House President's Volunteer Service Award for her humanitarian work, both domestically and globally. You can also see and find her work featured in several online publications, including Thrive Global and The Daily Positive, and now this here video series. Keiya, it's an utter privilege. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, an absolute delight to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, such a gift. So I have around 4 million questions for you, but let's start with the phrase transformational healer. Can you tell me what that means?
Yes, well, I will tell you how I think it'll be best to share with you how I got to become a transformational
And
healer.
that is what I want to hear. Absolutely.
And then it'll all make sense.
Amazing.
I feel like my life has been a transformation. I've been on a transformational journey all my life. And it really started, from the age of 8 until 16, I was mentally, physically, and sexually abused. And during that time, I had this knowing. I don't know where it came from, but I had a knowing that while they could touch my body, they couldn't touch my soul.
Mm. Mm.
And I feel like that seed of transformation or healer was planted from that very young age.
That makes sense.
And as I got older, I really went through a journey, in having, being abused and what's not, really took me down a path of low self-worth, low self-esteem, as so much so that my self-worth was in the pits.
Oh,
I hated my life so much that I attempted to end it. And, after suffering through anxiety for so many years and depression, I got to a point in time in my life where I just felt like I had enough. And I made the decision one night that I was going to end it all.
Okay.
And as I took some pills, I don't even remember what I took now, and I was laying on my bathroom floor waiting for the pills to take effect, a voice said to me, it was soft, but it was stern, said, "You were put on this earth for more than this. Get up." And in that moment, I felt a profound sense of peace come over me like never before. I got up, went to sleep, and I knew my life had changed, but I didn't know how.
Right.
But that sense of peace was just something I'd never felt. I hadn't felt it like this in years. And I went to sleep, and the very next day, not 2 days later or 3 days later, the very next day, I ran into a woman that mentioned to me about a program that she had attended that changed her life. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this.
Yeah, the time is now. Yeah.
Because listen, you can't, that was the message. And so that got me on the path, I feel, to just having a deeper understanding and real of myself, of confirming the knowing that I had.
Yeah.
That there was the personality, ego side of me, and there was also the spiritual part of me. And so as a transformational healer, it really became about blending the two.
Okay.
And that's how we create wholeness.
Okay. Okay. That's so like the ego, would that also be like kind of like our logical side, like for terrible binary word, like our scientific side, like the piece that can't necessarily always interact with the emotional side? Is that part of that division that you see? Okay.
It's all part of it.
Okay.
And so there was this, so as I was going through, there was this inner conflict, and we all go through that.
Right.
And the transformation for me was understanding, again, finding a way to bring the two in harmony, so that my life can work, so that I can be who it is that I am destined to be. And so as a transformational healer, I find my work is always bringing people together, bringing the energetic, spiritual aspect of themselves in alignment, in connection with the physical. So now they're free to become whole.
Okay. I like that you just said in the alignment of the spiritual and the physical, because that connects specifically in my brain to
Yes.
something I'm really working through right now, which is the idea of being present in your body.
Yes.
And present in your body and present in the moment being the same thing, at least in how I'm having to think about it right now. And I'm much more in tune, just in my training and my life experiences. I always know what I'm feeling emotionally. I'm very rarely aware of my body.
That makes sense, because most of us are not really taught to be in our bodies.
Yeah.
And what we will do often is we will numb ourselves, right? Because to be in our bodies, we need to be able to feel.
And feeling is scary a lot.
Exactly.
Because it's not something that we've been given a language to put on. I don't know. I remember talking to somebody once and they were like, I know I'm sad, but that's not the word that I would put on how I feel.
Exactly.
And I wonder, it was early in my social work journey. And I remember a professor saying like nine times out of 10, your clients will pick a word they read in a book once rather than the word they actually think describes what they're feeling, because we've never given them tools for that. And I would have thought of that, Kai, I'll be really honest, as more on the emotional side, but you're saying it's more connected to the physical. Or are you telling me that I am falsely disconnecting them?
I wouldn't say falsely disconnect them. I think most people there's a level of misunderstanding.
Okay. I mean, yes, we all misunderstand everything all the time. Yes, there's a level of misunderstanding. Okay.
There's a level of misunderstanding. And I think the level of misunderstanding more has to do with because we're so deep in the physicality of who we are, right? That the misunderstanding is almost that we're not able to connect so often with the spiritual aspect of ourselves, which is why something like meditation is so important, to bring us to connect, to go within. We don't want to go within.
No, within is scary and uncontrollable.
Exactly. And so that transformational journey what was it inviting me to do? Go within. Go within. The answer is within. What you're seeking for is within.
Okay. Oh my. So I know we've both had the privilege of being guests on Scott Roberts's heavily
yes, we have
podcast. And one of the things that I loved about your conversation with him that just brought that back to me was this within piece. And ironically, a lot of my conversation with him is that I'm still scared of the within. And I'm still wrestling through the within I have to go with, because I connect silence with inner shame in a way that is not productive. In your work, how much do you hit up against things like shame and guilt and those kind of big, ugly things that people are programmed to carry often by their upbringing. Is that something you hit a lot?
Oh man, I hit it up quite a bit,
Okay.
quite a bit. But I will also say, it's interestingly enough, the people that do come to me, they're ready. They're ready.
I'm not going to hire you
there.
until I'm ready to flay myself open. Yeah, like I get that.
But I will tell you though, this is and I think there's a beautiful aspect to this as well though. And what I've found, and this is through just experience with my clients though, that going within this, the space that is created for that to take place is actually more fun than scary.
Okay, can you tell me more about that?
Yes, because I think and let me back up. One of the things that I've also been since I was very young was highly intuitive and very sensitive and very empathic. And so as a transformational healer, when I'm working with someone and we are really working on the level of spirit and with soul, it's not scary.
Okay.
Because the aspect of your spirit, of your soul, that aspect of you that is inviting you to go within is pure love. And so when you go there,
okay,
right, when you go there, when people are really when you're able to be guided by a facilitator or someone that can take you into that space, it doesn't have to be scary. Because what it's doing, it's more clarity. And when you have clarity, what happens? You're free.
Yeah.
And so it's not as scary at all as people think. I had a client once who was like, oh my God, I'm going to be working with you. And she was, having a lot of issues around her mother and her upbringing and all of that. And she's like, and I've been on this healing journey all my life. I said, honey, the healing journey stops today. Okay. But what I meant by, I was kidding. And she thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to be going through all this deep work. And we just ended up really laughing the entire time as she's laughing her way through shedding a lot of the shame and the guilt that she's been carrying. But I give that to you because when you enter into the realm of spirit, hence what success from the soul.
Right, of course.
Right? Unable to touch my body, they can touch my body, they can't touch my soul.
Yeah.
When you enter into that, if you will, that higher realm, it's a completely different experience and a completely different ballgame, because the container that is held for you and for anyone else is such incredible love.
What struck me really clearly for the first time as you were talking there is this presence of a guide in this process. And I wonder if so much of the fear is, I know, so sociologically, I know I've read the studies that guilt and shame are things we assume we put on ourselves because we assume other people's opinions of us. And Brene Brown has unpacked this for years. Her research is beautiful. And if anyone watching this has not heard me talk about Queen Brene, please encounter her research. But I also wonder if the scary bit that all of our knee jerk is into not doing this work is that we think we'd be alone. And our perception and a lot of practice of modern therapy is very stand backish, is very bounded. And that's great. And so for that particular practice, and that works for people. And I've been in therapy and will be in therapy for the rest of my life. But what you're talking about is not clinically therapeutic.
No.
What you're talking about is a guided journey into becoming who you are meant to be.
Yes.
Is not a clinical therapeutic journey. And so I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because I never thought about your work this way before. I never understood the guide part of it.
Yes.
The way the fear is what happens when we think we're alone.
Absolutely.
And you're going to make sure that we're never alone. And so if it does get a little scary, or we do have to cry, or we do have to say ugly things out loud, you're there to help the context of it's almost like your job is helping us remember who we are. You're there to keep us intact as we do the other work, because we can't do this alone. This deep soul stuff can't be done in a solo way.
No, it cannot. It absolutely cannot.
Yeah, I kept trying to square your circle with clinical therapy, and it
No,
can't. It's a completely separate realm.
completely. And I want to thank you so much. I really have to thank you, because I have to say, I think you articulated it better than I could.
Well,
And,
I'm coming at it new, and you've had to do sales pitches for like, so it's a different. But yeah, oh my gosh, wow.
thank you. I just love you. Like, I love you. And I'm going to tell you why, because having been doing this from that perspective, that is, and having to try and articulate what I do, has just been this way of like, how do you put words into this thing that I do? I just know people who've been in therapy for years, and like you said, hey, I'll do therapy in a minute. But I know that people who've been in therapy for years and years and years, they come to me, and within a very short period of time, very short, boom.
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be some. So I have friends, I'm ticking down my head right now, who would work really well with you and it would be great. And another list that like they could not even enter into probably
Right.
your physical space. You'd overwhelm
No,
them so much.
right.
And the major difference between those two people is therapeutic intervention to get to a level of self-awareness.
Yes.
So there, you have to do the putting some of the pieces of you back together
Yes.
before you can enter into wholeness. I can't walk into you and I'm a brick wall. That's not going to work. You can't take me from brick wall to integrated human. I've got to do some other work first. And so it makes sense to me that somebody would come from a therapeutic background. They already had those tools. I mean, because that's what therapy is. It's giving you tools to
Right.
handle your own trauma. So they've got those tools, but therapy is not designed to create aligned human beings.
No, it's not. It's
This
not.
is like the next, I mean, this is the next step.
This and you're absolutely right. And interestingly enough, no, someone, and that's, remember when you asked the question earlier, and I forgot the question, but when I said they won't come to me unless they're ready.
Yes. That's it.
That's it. That's it.
That's it. It's so fascinating because I could have a million business development conversations with you too, because I love like how we talk about selling this too.
Right.
And, like, how do we intersect spirit with marketplace and all those kind of other things. But I remember when we were first starting Abbey Research, the question that used to drive me absolutely fucking insane was that people would ask who our target client was.
Oh my gosh.
And my answer was whoever wants to work with me.
Yes.
Business coaches
Yes.
would be like, that's not the answer. And I'm like, I don't have another one. Like, I can't.
Oh my gosh.
You
Yes.
care about people. All I want to do is teach you
Yes.
how to do it better.
Yes.
So that's not a Facebook algorithm. I don't know how to find those folks on Hootsuite. I can't.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But every time I tried to define it differently to make a coach happy, it was
Right.
so out of alignment with what we were doing.
Oh my gosh.
And I can imagine it's the same for you.
Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, and what I'm doing is a lot less spirit. Well, and you know what? As I say that,
Right.
it's not. What we're asking folks to do, is the more logical end of what you're asking them to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Incredible.
Well, I just had a whole session. I'm so glad you guys were. Okay. Wow. Anyone who's watched this knows that I'm not speechless very often, but it does not surprise me that Keiya is who would get me there. So I want to also just really quick shift the conversation back to you as where it belongs and not on me. But this is carrying some stuff for folks, Keiya. How do you, in this very vulnerable, empathic place that you have to be for your clients, how do you protect yourself?
You know, I often hear people go, "Oh, I do all these protection and things to put the white light around me and all of this." You know, this is what I do.
Please.
I know that when someone comes to me, that I am just a conduit, a channel for that information to come through.
Okay.
And so I know that the forces, the divine that is actually doing the work has got them. And so then there's no need for me to really be in this place of I need to protect myself, I need to do all of this. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just this place where it's, you know, I am able to know that as I am this channel, that whatever they're needing for their soul to get that healing that it needs is taking place, and I'm not in it.
That does, I mean, it's your truth, so it makes sense whether it makes sense to me or not.
Right.
But I want to focus just really briefly for the listeners on that word able. Like, that is still a skill set, Keiya. Like, even if you have this, even if you have an innate ability, it is still something you cultivated as you cultivated your practice.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's not just like a magic thing that happens. Like, you have to do that intentionally.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's the better way for me to have asked the question was, how do you create intentional space? How do you create intentional space to where the stuff your client is going through doesn't rub off on you? And the answer is that you've cultivated an ability to be a conduit.
Absolutely. That's it.
Okay.
And so then I'm not involved. Right. So if I'm not involved, then I don't have to take it on. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And it's not theirs either. Because now we're like, I know. Okay. It's not theirs either in the sense, because we've co-created a container for all that crap to be worked out.
Okay.
So they don't need to be carrying that.
And within that container is where you guys can do the messy work.
Exactly.
That's contained in that space and not in their own souls.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like I completely respect that you say it's not scary because you guys do it together, and I can see how it's not. But that also sounds terrifying, because what you're going to create an ability for people to do is to fully be themselves. And most of us actually don't want that as much as we think we do, because we're pretty comfortable with how things are. And so stepping into new possibilities is terrifying.
It is.
In a really different way than not facing your own junk. Like, there's so many different kinds of fear and so many different kinds of hesitancy. And yet, like, everything within me was like, okay, I'm not ready for that yet for a couple different reasons, but like, I want it. I want to be ready to take that step. You're
so much more ready than you think.
That's neither here. I mean, we're always our own worst critics. At least I am. I'm always the one that's like, I'm terrible and an embarrassment. And
I know we do that. We do that, don't we?
We are. Like, our inner. To have you back, and we'll talk about inner critics at another time.
Exactly.
But, I just want to process everything we just did together personally. And I think our viewers might want to too. So I'm going to hit pause here, and I will have you back to talk about a million other things, I am sure. Viewers, absolutely. This is not the last time you will see the glorious and radiant Keiya K. Rayne on our channel. If you want to get in touch with her and either ask more questions, obviously she loves talking about her work, or to talk. We didn't even get to touch on the NGO stuff, or like the president. We didn't get to touch on that. If you want to talk about that, all of her information is going to be in the links below this video, so that you can interact with Keiya and find her across the socials. I personally follow her on Instagram. I really love her there, so I can give a personal endorsement for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. It's been an honor and a gift. And folks, if you loved this conversation, I really hope you did. Then I really would love if you hit that thumbs up button. It really does help. And if you like these kind of conversations, I have them all the time. So subscribe to the channel and make sure not to miss a single video, not only in this series, but in other series that we have across the YouTube channel, where Dr. Aaron and I, for instance, while you're watching this, we just wrapped up coverage of Hulu's Handmaid's Tale. And we are in the midst of covering Disney Plus's Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and talking about those things from an empathetic, what can we learn about other human beings perspective. And we'd love to have you on that journey with us. So we'll see you around wherever we see you next. Keiya, again, thank you for your kindness and your generosity.
Absolute delight. Thank you.
And viewers, we'll see you next time on Welcome to My World.